As I told President Trump during our call last week, Canada will respond to the U.S. auto tariffs approach by matching the U.S. approach with 25% tariffs on all vehicles imported from the United States. Our tariffs, though, unlike the U.S. tariffs, will not affect auto parts because we know the benefits of our integrated production system.
We will respond in kind. That's Canada's scary promise after Trump's latest tariff tantrum. What most people don't realize is that 1/3 of the 2 million new cars sold in Canada come from the U.S. That's a 500 to 700 million punch to America's gut if Canada hits back. Oh, and did I mention Canada could literally turn off the lights in parts of America? They sell us $4 billion worth of electricity annually, and now they're considering using that power as leverage. Donnie diapers might have just triggered an economic disaster that'll make your electric bill look like your mortgage payment. Before we move on, I'd like to ask you a small favor. If you appreciate this content, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Over 98% of you watch the videos without subscribing. It costs you nothing, but it makes a huge difference to us. So, did you click the subscribe button? Great. Thank you so much. Now, back to the video. Ever wonder why Trump is suddenly picking a fight with Canada of all places? It's like starting a bar fight with the nicest guy in the room. The orange turd recently threatened a 25% tariff on all Canadian cars coming into America. And no, it's not because a Canadian Mountie once refused to shake his tiny hand. It's actually part of his America First playbook. You know, the one where America somehow ends up last.
Hello, everybody.
U.S. President Donald Trump had largely toned down his attacks on Canada for much of the Canadian election.
I really don't want cars from Canada. So when I put tariffs on Canada, they're paying 25%, but that could go up in terms of cost.
There's also border security tariffs of 25% on all goods with a lower 10% on energy and potash.
Trump literally said, "I really don't want cars from Canada, so when I put tariffs on Canada, they're paying 25%. Classic Trump logic, about as straight as a circle. He thinks slapping these tariffs will magically create American jobs, but the reality is way different. These tariffs would hurt American workers more than help them. It's like trying to cure a headache by hitting yourself with a hammer. The grumpy Trumpy doesn't actually care about protecting jobs. This is all about looking tough for his voters who think trade wars are as easy to win as a rigged game of tic-tac-toe. His base eats this stuff up like it's the last piece of apple pie at a 4th of July picnic. They hear tariffs and think, America strong, while economists hear tariffs and think, everybody poor. His threats came with some seriously weird comments about the Canadian economy that make it super clear he knows as much about international trade as a goldfish knows about rocket science. Trump talks about Canada like it's some tiny little country that depends entirely on the US, when, in reality, they're our largest trading partner. The two countries that had a smooth alliance in the past are now struggling with the question who can hurt whom and how much. Here's what Donnie Diapers doesn't understand. The auto industry between the US and Canada isn't just connected, it's basically one giant organism. Parts constantly move across the border like they're playing international ping pong. Engines get made in Ontario, bodies get put together in Michigan, and final assembly happens in Canada. It's so mixed up that calling a car American or Canadian is like trying to separate the cheese from a pizza. Technically possible, but messy and pointless. Trump's acting like he can just chop off Canada without consequences. That's like removing your liver to lose weight. Technically possible, but incredibly stupid. A single additional tax would mess up the entire supply chain and make production costs go way up. And guess who pays for those increased costs? Not Trump. Not the car companies. You do when you go to buy a new car and find out it costs $5,000 more than last year. What's even funnier is how Trump keeps underestimating Canada's resolve. He seems to think they'll just apologize for existing and then do whatever he wants. But Canadian officials are basically saying, mess around and find out, in the politest possible way. They're planning to hit back hard, and they're not going to apologize for it. Well, they might apologize. They are Canadian after all. But they'll still do it. Industry experts on both sides of the border are pulling their hair out over this. They know there is no benefit to confrontation with Canada, both sides lose. It's like two neighbors fighting over a fence by burning down both their houses. Smart, right? So why is Trump really threatening these tariffs? It's a political stunt for his base that could backfire spectacularly. He doesn't understand how intertwined our economies are. It's all about looking tough on the campaign trail while knowing nothing about the actual consequences. Trump's approach to international trade is like letting a toddler play with matches in a fireworks factory, entertaining for about 2 seconds before everything goes boom.
The tariff policy on Canada. So right now, it is status quo. This remains yet another threat from President Trump.
We don't really want Canada to make cars for us, to put it bluntly. We want to make our own cars, and they sell to us. If they didn't have us, and if we didn't spend that money, as Trudeau told me, they would cease to exist.
The whole situation has made diplomatic tensions skyrocket faster than Trump's blood pressure when someone mentions his election loss. The relationship between the US and Canada used to be smoother than butter on hot toast. Now it's more like trying to spread frozen butter on stale bread with a plastic fork. And speaking of backfiring, Canada isn't just going to sit there and take it like they're some pushover hockey team. They're ready to drop their gloves and show that the nice guy from the north can throw a punch when needed. Trump might think he's putting America first, but his policies are putting American workers, companies, and consumers dead last. The only thing that's actually first is his ego, which continues to be bigger than his actual accomplishments. Think Canada's just going to apologize and offer Trump some maple syrup? Think again. They're planning a revenge tour that would make Taylor Swift jealous. The Canadian government isn't playing nice anymore. They're working on a response that could match or even top Trump's 25% tariff threat. And before Donnie Diapers dismisses this as an empty threat, he should know that Canada has a pretty solid track record of keeping their promises, unlike some orange presidents we know. Here's what makes this scary for American businesses. 1/3 of all new cars sold in Canada come straight from American factories. That's over 600,000 vehicles that could suddenly cost thousands more for Canadian buyers. We're talking price hikes of $4,000 to $7,000 for regular cars and SUVs. Your average Canadian won't pay that much extra just because Trump had another Twitter tantrum. They'll buy cars from somewhere else instead. GM, Ford, and Tesla are about to feel some serious pain if this happens. These companies could lose between $500 to $700 million in revenue within just a year or two. That's not pocket change, even for big car makers. The Canadian market isn't small potatoes for these companies. For GM, Canada makes up nearly 10% of their North American money. Ford and Stellantis, the company that owns Chrysler, count Canada as their second biggest North American market. Wall Street isn't happy about this either. Analysts are already predicting a 5 to 10% drop in share prices for these car companies if Canada follows through. And if this stupid trade war drags on for months, those share prices could crash by 15 to 20%. All because Grumpy Trumpy wanted to look tough for his fans who think tariffs are some magic job-creating spell rather than what they actually are, a tax on American consumers. But cars are just the appetizer in Canada's revenge meal. The main course? Electricity. The real nuclear option Canada has is literally controlling the power switch for parts of the US. Canada sells America over $4 billion worth of electricity every year. Imagine parts of New England or the Midwest suddenly facing power shortages or price spikes because Trump couldn't keep his big mouth shut. While completely cutting off power might be complicated to do quickly, Canada could easily slap extra fees or tariffs on that electricity. Canadian officials are also eyeing oil and natural gas exports for their revenge plot. Alberta and British Columbia pump tons of oil and gas to the US. Some American refineries are specially designed to use Canadian heavy oil, so any disruption would cause immediate problems. Gas prices are already high. Want to see them go even higher? Just let Trump keep running his mouth about tariffs. Nothing makes voters happier than paying more at the pump, right? Tesla might be feeling extra nervous right now. They're trying to expand in Canada, and a 25 to 30% extra cost would put the brakes on electric vehicle sales. Industry experts say this could knock 3 to 4 points off Tesla's share price alone. Elon might want to text his buddy Donald and tell him to cool it with the tariff talk. The two countries that had a smooth alliance in the past are now struggling with the question who can hurt whom and how much. This isn't some friendly hockey match anymore. It's economic warfare. And while America might be bigger, Canada knows exactly where to hit to make it hurt.
Announced last week to build a made-in-Canada auto sector, a fund that a new Liberal government would implement should we be elected. This approach, by matching the U.S. approach, with 25% tariffs on all vehicles imported from the United States. Our tariffs, though, unlike the U.S. tariffs, will not affect auto parts because we know the benefits of our integrated production system.
So how exactly could Canada hit back? By targeting American-made cars with matching tariffs and potentially weaponizing their energy exports to cause serious economic pain. It's like Canada is saying, "You think you're tough with your tariffs? Hold my beer, I control your electricity." The worst part? This whole mess could have been avoided if Trump just understood basic economics or, thought before he spoke. There's a reason experts say there is no benefit to confrontation with Canada. Both sides lose. It's like two neighbors deciding to solve a minor disagreement by burning down both their houses. Trump seems to think Canada will just roll over and take whatever he dishes out. But Canada's preparing to show that the nice, polite country to the north can throw a serious economic punch when provoked. And unlike Trump's empty threats, Canada's actually done their homework on exactly how to make America hurt. Turns out the country famous for saying sorry isn't sorry at all about defending their economy against the orange turd's tariff tantrums. What started as Trump's tariff tantrum is shaping up to be a full-blown economic disaster. The orange turd thinks he's playing 4D chess, but he's actually playing Russian roulette with American jobs. The auto giants and energy companies will take the first hit, but the pain will trickle down to regular folks paying more for cars and electricity. As the research shows, this silly trade war could cost $15 to $20 billion if it drags on. If Ottawa plays this card, energy costs could skyrocket in certain parts of the U.S. This is what happens when political ego defeats basic economic common sense. Donnie Diapers started a domino effect nobody can stop.